So it's been about 2 months now since I upgraded from the Canon M50, which I'm currently filming on right now, to the Canon M6 Mark II. Now, 2 months I'd say is a good amount of time to familiarise oneself with a camera, find out all its quirks, you know, the things that you don't like about it, the things that you do like about it. And if you want to find out what I think, I'm going to tell you now. I really love this camera, but it does have some drawbacks and some things that I've found are a little bit difficult when it comes to sort of getting from A to B when it comes to shooting and stuff. So in today's video, that's what we're going to be going over. So welcome to my 2-month review of the Canon M6 Mark II. Let's roll the intro. So welcome back to the channel, guys. Thank you so much for joining me for another video. If you're new around here, it's nice to meet you. My name is Connor Wells. I am a photographer, videographer and podcast producer, and I make weekly videos about those 3 subjects. So if that's what you're into, consider subscribing, join the family. I shouldn't really be holding a camera around like this, but anyway, we move. So like I said in the intro, we're going to be talking about the Canon M6 Mark II. I'm going to be going over the pros of it and the cons of it. And I'm sort of basing this from the point of view of upgrading from the Canon M50, which is arguably one of the best beginner mirrorless cameras you can get on the market. It's still currently Canon's best-selling interchangeable lens camera, and I am not surprised why. It is a fantastic camera, and whenever people come to me messaging saying, oh, I want to buy my first camera, what should I get? I pretty much always recommend them the Canon M50. But as my business has been growing, I've found, you know, some frustration when it comes to shooting with the Canon M50, which is why I decided to upgrade to the Canon M6 Mark II, and that has alleviated pretty much most of the sort of grievances I had with the current camera over here. So I'm going to start with the things that I really do love about this camera. I think the first one for me is the compact, you know, sort of form factor. It's still a very, very small camera with, you know, with the lens off, it looks absolutely fantastic. It's got this sort of line at the top here with like the Canon logo. It sort of looks like it's got like a vintagey feel. I know they do like a one with a silver, but that was like way too expensive for me. So I went with the sort of all black version, and I really, really like it. It's, you know, it's got a good grip to it. I never feel sort of myself sort of losing grip of the camera. It's just really, really great. The buttons are exactly where I want them to be, and I have customized some buttons and programmed them to do certain things that I want to do. I never really find myself drawn to pressing the red record button when it comes to shooting video. It doesn't give me much reassurance, which is why I programmed the shutter button when in video mode to start and stop recording, which, you know, you can feel and hear that click, and that is nice and reassuring. The next thing I love is when I'm using this camera as a stills camera, the 32.5 megapixel sensor is absolutely fantastic. I love it so much. As a pixel peeper, and I think most photographers are, well, fairly experienced photographers are, it is so good to have that ability to crop in without losing too much resolution. It's fantastic. I love having that option, and the images just look absolutely fantastic. I'm going to stick up a few portraits on screen now, and as you can see, the colors and pictures that this camera produces are absolutely spectacular. I really, really love it. Now, controversial opinion, I know a lot of people didn't really like the fact that they went with the flip up screen. I actually prefer it. There is a few little drawbacks, but on the whole, I have found myself really, really enjoying the flip up screen, because when you're looking at yourself vlogging, it's a little bit less noticeable when you look up to the camera to make sure you're in focus and make sure everything is in the background that you want to be showcasing. Whereas if you look at the side like this, so if I currently look at the side like that, it's a little bit, you know, weird, which is what the Canon M50's got, which is a flip out screen. And I always thought that I would like the flip out screen like all the time, but the flip up screen has actually been proving pretty good, and I quite like it. Although it doesn't flip out, it still hasn't limited me when it comes to taking photos, because, you know, if I want to sort of shoot something from above, like this, I've got the tilt down bit, which is great, or if I'm shooting low, I can sort of get nice and low like that and flip the screen up. I really, really love it. This touch screen is phenomenal. It's really, really responsive. It's never lagged on me. The speed of this camera is great. It's really, really good. The battery life on this camera has been surprisingly well. I did, I have no idea how, because it was a hot day. I did a wedding for 8 hours. I took around 3,700 photos and I only went through 2 batteries. I genuinely don't know how, but this battery life lasted very, very well, and it has done for video as well. It's been absolutely fantastic. I can get about 2 hours worth of recording in 4K with this camera with a fully charged battery. I do have some sort of third-party batteries like this one from Niwa. It's great. I don't really notice any difference between an official Canon battery and this Niwa one. It came with a really, really good sort of like USB-C dual charger, and yeah, I cannot fault the battery life. Now, when it comes to the SD card slots, am I disappointed it doesn't have 2? Not really, because the camera's never really sort of failed on me at all when it comes to recording to the SD card. But I am very, very intrigued to see how it performs with the HS2. I can't remember the name of it, but it's got it can support like the SanDisk HS2 SD cards, although I do use the standard Extreme Pro ones, and they're fine. They're really, really fast. I've never really sort of ran into any buffering, and that's great. Now let's get into some cons. But before we do that, if you are enjoying this video, don't forget to hit the like button and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let's go on to the cons of this camera. Now, as much as I do love the flip up screen, obviously, elephant in the room, it basically blocks the hot shoe mount or cold shoe mount. I never know these little terms, but it basically stops where you put like a flash, or in this camera, the EVF, or for me, which I use it most for, a microphone. Now, that's where Small Rig came in very, very handy. As you can see, I have got this little relocation mount, and it's great, and it has solved 99.9% of my problems when it comes to putting a microphone on this camera and going out and vlogging, which is great. I haven't got a lens attached to it now, which is why it looks a little bit silly, but let me explain. So pretty much my go-to mic on everything is either the Rode Wireless Go, which I'm using right now, or the Rode Video Mic Pro Plus. Jesus, like looking at it right now, it's actually huge. When it came to putting this on the relocation mount, it worked pretty well. It moved it over, which is great. But then I realized, we ran into a problem. The Rode Video Mic Pro Plus has got 2 of these Rycote mounts, which is great for the sort of stability and, you know, removes any sort of shaky sounds from it, but it does block the screen. Now, what I could do is I could just flip the screen up, put it back on, tighten it, and obviously wrap the cable around. I can't be asked to plug it in, which is great, you know, there we go, it works. But then if I want to put the camera away, it's blocked again, which isn't very, very practical at all. So I did have to buy a new microphone, which is the Rode Video Micro. I did have one of these before, but then I sold it. I always really loved this microphone, the fact that it doesn't have a battery, and it just sort of goes off the camera. It's auto on, auto off, and I really, really love the sound this microphone produces. It's really, really underrated, and for £40, bargain, mate. And this has actually solved the shoe replacement mount system problem that I was running into, because this has only got one of these Rycote things, and there we go, away we go, happy days, love that. Second con that I can think of, and there aren't many, is this camera has actually overheated on me once. Now, it was in a very, very hot room filled with lots of people, and I was recording 4K for about an hour non-stop, so I did have to switch it off, switch it back on again, and switch it to 1080p for a little bit, and then I got no overheating warnings. But I don't really do too many long period shoots like that, so I don't think I'm going to run into that problem very often. But it's just something to be aware of. The next con is I really, really do wish there was a headphone socket so I could like monitor my audio levels. Yeah, that sucks. Although you can see on the screen, you can like view your audio levels on the screen when you're in video mode, which I will switch it to now. And down there you can see your audio levels bumping up and down, but the one problem is you can't change it during the recording. So you'd have to stop and start your audio levels on recording. Now, most of the time I'm using a microphone which is the Rode Wireless Go or the Rode Video Mic Pro Plus, usually boomed, and that gives you the option to change your audio levels on the microphones itself. But if you're just sort of vlogging and, you know, just sort of filming, I don't know what kind of situation, but it's just something to bear in mind, that you cannot change the audio levels whilst you're recording. You have to stop the recording, go into your settings, and then sort of dial it up or down. Now we're going to talk about a con when it comes to the photography aspect of things, and when shooting in low light, obviously this is a 32.5 megapixel sensor, it is going to produce a little bit more noise, and that is quite noticeable. When I'm shooting gigs in low light, I've had to bump the ISO up to, I try to limit it to 1600, and you can see a little bit of noise. Lucky you can apply a bit of noise reduction in Lightroom or whatever photo editing software you use, but it's going to be a little bit noticeable when compared to the Canon M50, which is 24.1 megapixel sensor, which is, in my opinion, a little bit better for low light. And my final con is something that I did know going into buying this camera, and that's the 4K footage. It does look absolutely spectacular. The colors are great, the no crop is brilliant, the autofocus and the eye autofocus is fantastic, but the sharpness is a little bit soft, and I'm filming in the standard picture profile at the moment on the Canon M50, and I don't know, really pixel peeping. This one does appear a little bit sharper. Obviously with the Canon M50's 4K, it's a little bit slightly unusable. You've got to put in manual focus, it crops and you lose the autofocus, but it is a little bit sharper. Luckily I have found like a way around it. I found a custom picture profile which produces a really flat sort of cine style picture profile. It's the closest thing you're going to get to C-Log on this camera, and I dial the sharpness all the way down and then add sharpness in post, and that does seem to make it look a little bit more crispy, which I love, but that's something to bear in mind if you are shooting in the standard picture profile mode. And sometimes I do just find myself shooting in the standard picture profile mode. Controversial opinion, but sometimes I just prefer that. Why spend hours of time color grading footage just to get it back to a standard picture profile mode? Let me know what you think about that in the comments below. But there we have it, people. That is my review of the Canon M6 Mark II. I thoroughly enjoy shooting with this camera, whether it be photos or videos. It is a fantastic camera. Am I pleased that I upgraded to this from the Canon M50? Hell yes, it is brilliant, and it has solved, like I said, 99.9% of the problems that I had with the Canon M50 when it came to being on shoots. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to see some of my work and my portfolio, do head on over to my website, connorwells.com, where you can see all of my work that I've been doing. And you can also sign up to my mailing list as well, and there is also a shop where you can buy my Lightroom presets, which I use to edit all of my photos. Don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. See ya.